we're here. We're here. G'day, everyone. We're back. And what are we doing? Well, we're trying to replicate what we used to have on Periscope, where many years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, we used to talk. Remember when we used to get like, relative, I mean, look, we once had 30,000 people, but that was me cycling on a little sled that I had built with someone's help. The electric petrol sled, which is now illegal to ride on roads. So I had to sell it. But we were riding to Canberra from Sydney to raise money for autism awareness. I got as far as collector in the end after many breakdowns, which you'll see on the old channel. But we used to do a lot of things live on Periscope, but of course Periscope shut down. Do we find a replacement? Well, we'll give this a go. We'll see how YouTube Live works, if it does work at all. But it's more, I don't know, to try and give updates for some, for the edification of those who seek to ask questions if they wish to do so. I've been told that YouTube Live chat is delayed. And I was suggested by a lovely person, one of the Gab fam, a group of people who have supported me either through Patreon or directly for the last number of years, and have been amazing, to use an app called Heckle, but unfortunately it just didn't work out on that platform. Unfortunately, it's an excellent idea, it just needs a bit of work. But what have we done now? There was one GabFam member asking me a question about how to deal with someone who says something offensive, but without getting angry to the point where then you become the bad person. So I had to explain how the context, without you realizing, can make you think that you are justified in your response. So then I said to this person, take out the person who's done wrong by you and switch it to someone else who might also be annoying you but unintentionally, and then act in the same way. Is it okay? And they said no. And I tried to explain that therefore there's a subconscious belief from your side that your action in this particular context was justified. But if that's the case, and they admitted yes, and I said, well, if it's justified in a context and not in another context, then the act itself can't be purely noble. Otherwise, if it were purely noble, then it would be context independent, okay to say, but it wasn't. So because it was negative in a different context, then you can see the action itself was negative, but in that situation believed to be justified. But then we come to eye for an eye. So is it okay to take out someone's eye who takes out the eye of someone that you love or that you care about or whatever? And I tried to explain that there's a few different problems with that. One is that if you try to take out the eye of someone who you believe has taken out the eye of your friend, then what you don't realize is that that person themselves in their world, justified or not, in their world feels that they've had their eye taken out by your friend in the first place. So when you come back and take out their eye, you're taking out their second eye. So now they've lost two eyes in their world and you've lost one. And so then there's a need for retribution. So the need for retribution then continues the cycle of violence, because the fact that someone who feels aggrieved in their world is the perpetrator in the world of the other person perceiving it. And that's why the cycle keeps continuing. That's something we don't talk about, of course, in our society. We talk about whether someone did something wrong or didn't, but we don't contextualize it, because what is wrong matters on the perspective of those perceiving that action. And so on a large scale, you can have something like Israel-Palestine, where, for example, when you watch Arabic news, it's all about the invasion of European people of Jewish descent in 1948. Whereas in our world, it's about the intolerant religious extremists who hate Jews. And the thing is, they're both true depending on the context within which you reside and what assumptions you take as fact and which ones you don't. And I'm not here to say that one is right and one is not. The point is that these two narratives exist. And because of that, we each think that our narrative is the correct one. And there might actually be a correct one. That's not the point. The point is that we believe ours to be correct. So what one believes is actually more important in relation to how they act as opposed to what is correct or not correct. So we're not using an independent measurement. And we haven't said that ever in the West. In the West, we never talk about whether or not it was justified that any racial or religious group can go into what they believe to be theirs, rightly or wrongly, and take it. Is that okay? And of course we say yes it is, but we don't actually consciously have this discussion. So we've never sat with, say, Arabic media and said what happened was not an invasion. What happened was a righteous returning or whatever. I'm not saying that's true or not, right? But the conversation actually hasn't occurred. So without that conversation, we just keep talking past each other. Anyway, that's a large global version. But on the small version, I was saying to this person that your relative feels aggrieved, for example. So your relative, your let's just say, I'm not using anyone's name, but your father is now attacking your mother, for example, and then you want to defend your mother. Now, what you don't know is that in the eyes of your father, he's the one who feels wronged by your mother. Now, it doesn't justify what he says. Absolutely not. But in his mind, he feels like it's an eye for an eye. She wronged him, he wronged her back. But you, as the other member of the family, walk in and you see that this person has, oh, hello, fun guy and booty, nice to see you. You feel that this person has perpetrated the act against the other person. And so you're coming in and seeing it from that perspective. Hello, good to see you. I'm not sure how this chat works, but we'll give it a go. Anyway, so we spent an hour doing that, which meant I lost an hour doing my PhD, working on my PhD. I didn't get here to an hour as your live cast sounds intriguing. Oh, it's a pleasure to see you, Mr. Fun Guy. Been a long time, isn't it? 6-7 years later, and here we are talking again. Anyway, so went back to the PhD, and it turned out that my citations had to be checked one by one, and I had 129 citations. So it just took me another 2 hours to go through them, and it's exhausting because it sometimes feels unnecessary, right? Why is the screen gone dark? That's strange. Anyway, this is the same beanie. For those of you who know me from 7 years ago, this beanie was made by my mum when I was a baby, and it still fits. So you all still know about it, and there it is again. Excuse me while I put it back on. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, we're back. So what else can I tell you? I did 5 hours and a half of cycling whilst working on the PhD, and I've showed you before, but I'll take off the background just so you can see the cycling device. So here it is. I cycle on this, and there's the pedals, and here's the computer, so I can do my work at the same time. And therefore, by cycling, you can, yes, I am 45, and that's, I guess the body can still survive at 45 if you give it enough exercise and enough fasting and enough of eating the right foods. So there we are. No three-wheeler any longer. No, you remember that. For those of you who want to catch up on all of our we're talking about something that's context specific. If you go to Periscope or the old YouTube videos, you'll see that I was riding from Sydney to Canberra for autism awareness on the little three-wheeler that I had built, the electric petrol one, which I mentioned I had sold actually at the beginning of this video. So does anyone else have anything they want to discuss? I can just tell you a few things for those of you who are new. Fun Guy is one of the beloved Gab fam who received my letters for 7 years whilst I unfortunately was away. I want to get into that because I think it's quite important. But the problem is that the story is one-sided and a lot of it is not true. But because it's public, people believe it. That's a problem, and that's something I've had to live with for a long time. So I'm looking forward to going through that in detail. It's important for people to recognize how someone morally normal and actually quite ethical can be so misunderstood as to end up with actual criminals, people who have a criminal mindset for 6 or 7 years. But during that period, I taught myself Italian and French. I did know a little bit. Another book opportunity. Well, I've written 800 pages so far, uh, but I'm too busy with the PhD at the moment. But it's definitely on the schedule. You'll notice for some of you that I made a video recently called A Metaphor for Color. And that was a narrative where I used AI to create some animations, even though I wrote the narrative and I got an AI voice to speak it. And it's gathered some small amount of interest. So that might be the way I tell the next. I'm glad you like it. That might be the way I tell the next book. And I think I'll start the book from my first memories when I was 10 months old. That memory I didn't know was real or not until I was about 20, when I found the room in which I was put at 10 months. And as the room was exactly as I described, and I told my mum this is the room I was in during when I was being babysat. And she said, yeah, it was. So that was good. So I'll talk about that. And then the next memories from age 2 and 3, and then move upwards. Yeah, so we'll get to that. But I should do some more maths, but I'm tired. I want to go shower and study some Italian and French and go to sleep and start again tomorrow. So we'll see how we go. But in the meantime, any questions, any thoughts from anyone before I head off and leave you alone? Yeah, it's a pleasure to see you all again. It's such. Am I streaming anything in addition to YouTube? I do a bit on TikTok and Instagram, but they tend to be sort of similar snippets to what I'm putting on YouTube. But there is the private GabFam channel, which I send, which I think you're receiving, which is great. And I think that's it at the moment, but I can think of. Yeah, but who knows? Maybe we'll rebuild here on YouTube as we did on Periscope all those years ago. Yeah, we'll see. Until then, remember to take life one smack at a time. All right, ciao.